For the past decade, there has been a very heated debate in the philosophy community about the relationship between Minecraft and Roblox, with many ideas, theories, and viewpoints, but so far, there hasn't been one largely agreed upon answer. So instead of trying to give you one, I'm just going to provide the information so that you can make an informed decision. Most philosophers agree that Minecraft is a game, but each philosopher has their own interpretations of it, one of the most popular ones being my man Freud's. His idea is that the game represents the mind, so let's take a minute and explain why. Steve, the player's character, is very altruistic and Boy Scout-like, which very closely resembles the superego. The enemies and traps are more animal and act on basic instinct, which leads them to be compared to the id, and the world is the ego, which is the in-between and like compromise of the two. But this idea goes beyond the Superman versus id-man dichotomy. Steve's obtaining of better weapons and armor mirrors the development of the superego in a child, and there's also the constant struggle between the id and superego to keep the ego not too far in either direction. And that's the gist of the idea, so I don't know about you, but that sounded pretty groovy to me. But there are others like Jung's, which is very similar to Freud's, except it almost revolves around the existence of Herobrine. Herobrine being a character that looks like Steve, but acts like an enemy, which is something that Freud didn't even consider, and I think this idea is pretty good too. But I think it's time we talk about Roblox. Roblox is a rather strange game because it only exists as a mod. And maybe there was another game that you thought of when I said that, and it was probably Gary's Mod because it has the word Gary in the title. But there's a difference between Gary's Mod and Roblox. Gary's Mod uses assets from other games, and the Source engine, which was originally created for Counter-Strike Source. So, in a sense, it's an extension of those games. Roblox, on the other hand, was created from scratch to be a game where players could create and play other players' creations. And it's also important to note that remaking games using Roblox is a fairly common practice. So using all this information about the game, we can start to understand the meaning of it. But before I start explaining, I know I've said similar things about other games, but it still bears weight here, so I'm gonna say it. Roblox embodies how humans deal with life and existence. When we try to find out why we exist, so that we can try to live up to that existence, we look to others, sometimes synthesizing our own ideas, and other times fully accepting those that already exist. In finding purpose and playing Roblox, there's a very important social aspect. Roblox would hardly be considered a game if no one had ever played or created in it. Similarly, without other people, you wouldn't exist, or you'd just be a baby alone in the wilderness without purpose. So now I'm going to bring it back to the whole point of this video, and tell you about how these games relate to each other. One idea is that these games are like different versions of each other, not opposites, but not equals. Minecraft has a very Eastern game design, meaning it has a lot of depth, while Roblox is the magnum opus of Western game design because of its almost unlimited breadth. Perfection is not found in either game alone, but in the combination of the two. Another idea is that these games are just steps towards a virtual experience that can perfectly replicate life. The steps being the creation of video games, then the creation of Minecraft, then the creation of Roblox. And there are bound to be other steps before we reach that point, but I kinda like this idea. And the final idea that I'm going to share in this video is that these games are rivals. They have similarity, but they're so similar that they don't want to exist in the same place. Now it might seem odd for games to get jealous, but I think it can happen, and it does create a problem for the player. You might choose to play one just to switch to the other because you think it's better, but you might switch back to the original one you were playing because you think that one's better, and you're constantly reminded that the grass is always greener on the other side.